Hello everyone and welcome back to the next part of our analysis series where I'm going through the games that I played in the FOB Arena tournament. And this one here was the match against CheekiBreeki. And as always, we're going to start with the pick and ban phase. And pick and ban phase, I was host again, so I got lucky there again. And I once more did ban two lakes, did ban Black Forest because I wanted to play one of the not so often played games because I didn't play that much rank anyways. I do hate two lakes, and that way the advantage of my opponent having played the map more lately than I did uh, was something that I wanted to take away. So I picked Izura again, as I also played that in one of the previous games. Wasn't successful there, but I felt like I had a hang of the map again. And yeah, picks and bans here. Outside of that, division-wise, I wanted to move away the other fast opener divisions that can bring in some medium forces. I felt confident with dealing with T-72s with MNAD in mind, and seeing the bands on the other side, I felt like that might set up for a T-72 division or for something similarly like to MNAD. And in the end, it was HDR London on the other side here, and I got my MNET, and my idea was to play the flanks hard and just secure the middle with Gurkha rifles no matter which side of Izura I got. And yeah, cheeky here. Picking HDR as having a division with some medium tanks that can still go toe-to-toe with most light divisions in the opener. It's a decent idea there as well. Good artillery there as well with some great autoload artillery. So HDR really not a bad pick for Izura. And yeah, we're gonna see how that all goes deck-wise. And Chicky went around here with quite the heavy bomb load. Only one card of fighters here in his division for HDR. A lot of guards of Carl Gustav moving around the battlefields. So really competent infantry here with Resolute all across the board. And then quite a lot of tanks. A lot of Centurion Mark 13s, knowing that I don't have tanks. So going for the cheap tanks here. A couple of challengers for the open, like the Centurion already outclasses any armored vehicle that I can bring around. So getting many cheap ones out makes a lot of sense. Only two Bloodhounds, as yeah, MNET is not known for massively big airwaves, and with the two tornadoes, you should be able to keep that in check. And instead, a good amount of javelins here and the star streaks to keep helicopters at bay on the other side. Surprisingly, no guard snipers here with A109s. That was my biggest fear when he picked that would disrupt my opener. And you will see that I played around that quite a bit. And my MNET deck here, LSVs here for the opener with the 50 cal and with the Milan. And then a lot of light vehicles to try to play around the flanks. The Gurkhas in bad forts and with only 2 vet instead of 3 vet because I wanted to get a lot of them out on the battlefield and wanted to spam ATGMs around the sides so that I could keep his tanks away, and expecting a lot of Centurions can kill them off with Milans relatively efficiently, whilst some power gun groups and normal powers here helping out next to the Gurkhas to have decent infantry numbers here still. And yeah, really just wanting to swarm the enemy with a lot of ATGMs here and a lot of light vehicles, but the Gurkhas slowly advance forward. Good AA around here to keep the enemy planes away as well. Dark fires and a lot of pivots that can, if necessary, also assist out in the fights against enemy infantry. So yeah, let's see how that all played out. And when we look at the deployments, you can really see how fearful I was of those A109s, as they are special forces helicopters with rockets and 50 cals. So I invested into double Mistrals. I invested into a VADS on each flank before deployment to try to be able to deal with that. Turns out there's really little recon deployment on the side of Cheeky, only a single Chancellor helicopter to figure out what is going on. And then a couple of helicopter-borne Terrier Airmobile here, flying into the center to try to get into the position there with a lot of fire teams and some decent Centurions here moving into the southern positions here. My goal was, as I once more was on the weaker side of the map, from a lot of perspectives when it especially comes to the fight in the middle, though. But a slightly stronger side when it comes to the flanks in my eyes. And that was the goal here, trying to win the flanks once more. And this time around, focusing it enough. I also tried to move around with the LSVs here and see how far I can push them. There are a couple of them here down in the south as well. So down here, it's only the 50 cal ones. Up in the north, there is one with a Milan as well. And then a Hellarm helicopter punishing any lack of AA, but so there will be a star streak there. So not that easy to deal with that. And yeah, if we look how the early engagements go here, obviously MNAD with the forward deployment here is getting way past the 50-50 line with the enemy deployment, as we are trying to get the whole area here. We get the Chancellor shut down, which is nice, as the enemy tried to use that immediately for a bit of air bullying, but that way my forward deployment AA still started to assist and slightly pay off already, with a dark fire behind all of this as well. The Hawks here, they do come around with 30mm gun pods, so they can deal with something like a Lynx. And the Lynx here on the side in a bit of a bad position. 50 cal LSVs here, realizing that the enemy did not go with any forward deployment into this area here, so we can ambush them a bit, get a Milan, and get immediately into a fight with a lot of the infantry, losing the Unimog, but immediately getting some kills against transports and the infantry around there. Not losing all that much at the beginning here. The Wessex helicopters here being killed off as well, buying us a bit of time. One of the Hawks being shut down, as the Fort Deploy AA here really didn't pay off against the units that I expected them to fight, but still in the end did pay off for sure. Mistral's best manpad system in the game. So second Hawk here does get shot down. I should not have bought that F4F. Big mistake, as I am the more aggressive division that against a solidified frontline later will have an issue, and I already bought that much AA. I should have been fine with that and realized that I at least pushed back the Hawk, likely gonna kill it, and invested those 200 points into some more pushing power into the forest. Big mistake here, because now the enemy's reinforcements are actually moving down here, whilst I don't have any reinforcements coming in, only now some gun crews, but they are actually going for the north because I don't have any infantry here, whilst realizing that I have a bit of area to go. Another big mistake of mine was this LSV Milan. This LSV Milan made it all the way through, and I did forget to give it the only fire at units with passengers or even hold fire against transports order. I should have gone to only passengers. I let it fire on all enemy units. It already started to fire before it got into position, and it fired on empty retreating transports. Didn't get a single kill and didn't get any of the value that it could have gotten there with that real line action. A lot of value that it could have brought, and it didn't bring any with the kills. It still at least will stay there as a good recon unit, but really this could have been a massive punishing move against the enemy, and I just threw that away. So that leads to upcoming issues on the northern front, but until then, my Gurkha rifles and powered gun groups got what they wanted in the middle here, getting into decent positions, keeping the enemy at bay. BADS can assist if the enemy infantry pushes too far, so the center is going as I wanted. My infantry push in the southern forest went as expected, but as I said, these 200 points should have been to reinforcing Gurkha rifles into the forest. Instead, the enemy can't bring around their special forces for the forest with the SASG without us having ours. Mistral here, one of them already out of ammo, so only one able to shoot at the Chinook, meaning that the Chinook gets through this alive and without being stunned, and gets into the forest. LSVs will assist the fight here, as the enemy is bringing around scouts and foxes as well. Guards, SASGs all moving towards my infantry. And yeah, I'm bringing cluster mortars, but I should have brought more infantry. The lack of supporting infantry, the lack of supply as well. Supply truck at least is on the way here to help out the Mistrals, but I should have bought one a minute earlier there as well. That's all an issue. In the middle, my infantry is doing its job, pushing back the enemy. One guard, Carl Gustav, made it in, but we are able to take the capture zone. will be able to get a bit of a tick up. Yeah, the LSV here in the rear stayed alive, but really not being able to get the kills there. Quite frustrating. These cluster mortars, they can also be used as smoke mortars. That's what they're doing now to prevent Milans here and to also kind of fake an attack from this area against the middle. Yes, they currently don't have another target, but they will be really helpful at dealing with enemy supply trucks and so on later on. So that's why you want to have them. They can be super deadly, especially if they have accurate shot. If you ever spot anything that doesn't move, and with my flanking, I hope that I get recon around to find some enemy vehicles standing still. LSVs here on a good mission, getting some good shots out. SASGs with special forces straight, pretty fast in the forest, pushing towards them. Will get to shoot at them, but the LSV being really, really fast, getting out there alive. So all my infantry chewed up because I didn't reinforce them, I didn't resupply them. So now my push in the south into the forest being stopped. Now I will once more try to outflank them in the north, getting a good couple of cheap 20mm cannons with the Weasels here to the middle to assist in the infantry fights, prevent the enemy from just running this over without investing too much into this. As I learned from my last game, the goal was not to invest masses into the center. Instead, more Weasels going to the north. Gurkha rifles that should have been there 3 minutes ago instead of this fighter, now going in. The fighter should have been bought maybe now, being ready for the next couple of bombers, as there are really good bombers on the other side. But yeah, with the Gurkha rifles here, this would look different. I would still have this foothold to this forest, would still be able to reinforce into that. Get maybe some more setup here towards the south. I still am doing that. Recon units here being deployed onto the side. We have good TOW2s to prevent the enemy from getting into our flanking position here, being able to defend this whole area nicely, as I learned from my last game on this map, where I gave this up too easily, and then this was a whole mess to ever get back into. Whilst we also have a slight point lead, pick still ongoing for now. Rover CP will change that soon, as LSV here in the north being a bit stuck as well. LR helicopter slowly flying towards us here. Locks down the north, as Cheeky knows that the center might be the axis of advance. Also invested into artillery. Surprisingly here, we bring 25 pounders around. Haven't seen them that often yet. They have a pretty good rate of fire. They need direct hits to kill stuff though. They are pretty decent at laying smoke, and yeah, the LSV here sees a lot. It just can't kill anything, which is a bit of a pain. Those artillery pieces now trying to shoot at me. I wasn't quite sure what they were. You can see it's a lot of 25 pounders. They're dirt cheap, so they absolutely can be annoying and cost efficient in that regard. They just won't kill your stuff, really. And yeah, on my side, my cluster mortars are nearly as cheap. And they can be deadly, so you usually want to have them hit their target effectively whilst standing still on the side. And yeah, these enter in active combat. They obviously are moving, so they are moving away. I will have to move the cluster mortars there in a second as well, realizing that the enemy likely is going to counter battery them eventually. Whilst we bring around more cluster mortars to help us out in that forest fight. Our Scorpion gets shot down by Milan in the north. Gurkha rifles here advancing, as I considered doing a push towards the center there. Whilst my Gurkha rifles down here got stuck, but they are still alive, so they can be resupplied. Currently, both sides building up more forces, which is not great for me, as the enemy has the heavier division, so I want to get some kills. I bring around my artillery as well. It's pretty cheap, which also can play smoke quite efficiently. The mortars here under fire, desperately trying to disengage. Moved a bit too late, but still currently getting out. So yeah, from here on out, it was always one salvo moving, one salvo moving. Enemy fired at the Gurkha's retreat position here as well. Whilst I tried to figure out what's going on over here. This recon unit at that position, quite powerful. Prevents the enemy from getting anything past us in the south. Gets us some decent intel on the reinforcement road here. Doesn't quite see onto this road here, which is a bit annoying. With those forest lines, that forest patch there blocking the line of sight, but still great flank there. LSV here still gave me decent information in the north. And yeah, the BADS paying off for the first time as well. But the 25 pounders go to town, trying to be annoying. As I set up a bit of a push here in the middle, trying to set up a smoke so that my Gurkha rifles could just run on top of this with Scorpion support and Weasel support maybe. Trying to get the northern position here covered. Go to really effective against the Centurions. Again, one-shot kill them, but the Centurion smokes off. That's the good part about the Centurions being a cheap tank with smoke. My Gurkha rifles also survived down here. Whilst my cluster mortars don't really have anything to shoot at as of late. I lack a recon unit in here to actually spot into the enemy side here. Like, perfect would be over here to look into that tree line as well. I also lack a recon unit in here, which is quite annoying. Like, the clears over here are nice, but I'm not being able to get one in here is a bit annoying. Still, LSV trying to assist the infantry here, retreating away from the rifle patrols and the airmobile Terrier. Weasel 20mm moving around there as well. Alarm on the other side moves into position, but my artillery is trying to kill off enemy recon, is trying to kill off enemy ATGMs. Killed off the Milan 1 team there. As the Gurkha rifles do get repaired in the south. And yeah, the big next push here currently planned through the northern forest by me, but the artillery in the center does start to set up the push for Cheeky. This is the key push here. That is where Cheeky needs to get the tick on, and usually the right side should do this a bit earlier than this. I also get my artillery pieces here onto the enemy, expecting some counter battery. I'm moving it away, and here comes one of the great punishing tools of Cheeky's division, 2 Canberra bombers. But I have a decent amount of AA. Skyguard, pretty efficient AA piece. We have Darkfires sitting around here as well. Really accurate if the enemy gets into range, especially with 0 ECM planes like the Canberras. Chances are that they get punished. And I also did start to micro against them, seeing the first one, realizing that it would go for the area around here. I immediately started splitting these Gurkhas, trying to get as much space between them so that only one of them might get killed. It's still a big area that these cluster Canberras get on, but as you can see, the F4F was around. Darkfire, together with all the AA, got the kill on the first one. Second one did turn the right way. Cheeky should have turned to the right with both, but yeah, the Gurkha rifles, one of them getting killed here for getting the Canberra is nice, and the Canberra, for some reason, evacuated to this side. I've never seen that before. I lost my F4F. Bit of a mixed marker. I should have turned to the left as well. I turned to the right and got killed by the enemy AA here in the center. So deserved that loss there as well. Gurkha rifles now fighting against airmobile Terriers, which are stunned down. So Gurkha rifles will win this fight as they are resolute and too bad they don't really eat much stress there. So the LSV can help out as well. My Milan here still in the rear, never got resupplied though. And yeah, more at 5mm moving around. I now try to push the enemy in the middle, get the kill on the Milan 2 here with my artillery. That was the big plan. And then trying to move in. But a big Canberra cluster bomber this time around. Once more will eat a lot of damage. Does get a decent amount of kills though. We get the kill. So not cost efficient here. Did kill a good couple of my light vehicles, but stressed out the others even more and stopped the push with that. Sacrificing a Canberra for it, not amazing for the enemy, but still at least bought them time, and over time they should get enough tanks around here to easily push us. As I said, one of the issues here of Cheeky is that Cheeky didn't get into my zone here. Meanwhile, my Gurkha rifles start to overwhelm the enemy units in the north. I move around and yeah, force Centurions to show up, but Gurkhas have low 80s. So Centurions there have to be careful. Lynx here gets pushed back as well. Well, we have more Para Commandos with Unimogs coming around to get this vehicle base going up that tries to force an engagement in the north. Wieseltoes trying to get into a good position, and both Centurions here dying to the Gurkha Rifles, still having a low AD left, pushing forward as the enemy is forced now to bring around one more of the SASGs. In the south, the cluster mortars could have been more active, but yeah, losing the foothold here makes it tough to get back into there. That really made this whole game a lot more complicated. If I would have kept my foothold into this game, likely at this point already could have been decided. Instead, Cheeky, with a counter push here now, can disrupt everything. Gets a counter artillery online this time around, kills my unit here as well. And in the south now, tries to figure out some things as well. So yeah, I have reinforcements moving into the north, Para engineers trying to assist there. I still have Gurkha Rifles in the center. These two Gurkha Rifles really should have gone either north or south as well. That was a misinvestment into the center. I was talking about how I didn't invest as much as in the last series into the center directly. And whilst that is true, these two here are for sure too much. The vehicles here, yes, they are here to assist with the center as well, but they are also more of a threat towards the northern open area, preventing any tanks from pushing into my tree lines, and also somewhat threatening the northern point. Like, the game plan for them was much more pushing up north than actually pushing through the center in this one. Fox gets killed by Milan. That is nice. Plus the mortars here now can see some stuff as well. Gurkha Rifles setting up to get some fire on here too. But yeah, currently both sides not on the quickest micro. We played it in an afternoon, both of us after work here, after an 8-hour workday. And maybe not on the height of our micro, to be honest. And yeah, Fox finds my Milan in the north finally. Well, we get the SASG though with superior firepower. Mistral there pushing around, and this time around the infantry push in the north does its job, securing this area, allowing a foothold for potential ATGM vehicles. Well, the Fox in the north is moving around. We have a Canberra that does do decent damage. Well, the 20mm and the 50 cal here that's against the guards. Gurkha Rifle have to be careful as well though. Well, we have a big push in the south with a lot of smoke setting up for this corner. Trying to get back into the enemy's tree line here as well. A lot of 20mm moving around, not going directly through the north. Goal is to get into the forest while keeping the enemy busy here in the corner of this zone. Cheeky now, having a lot of forces here in the center, will push forward as well. Whilst I tried to rotate some units around to assist in this zone. Goal with the smoke is to always be able to fire at the front line of the enemy with my 20mm autocannon without their support units being able to fire at us. So the smoke currently interrupting the Foxes and Centurions from helping out here, but my 20mm autocannons now can open up against the guards, are able to get the kills there. Smoking between the enemy front line and their rear line, quite efficient here. Milan 1 is an issue, but we have a decent amount of autocannons on top of it now, so we'll go down on time, and we have a lot of Gurkha Rifles here now moving in to push through this. As I said, these two Gurkha Rifles, if they would have been up north, we could have been a good bit further. They are the most wasteful unit I had in this game. But rockets on the other side, moving in again, but we still have decent AA down here. We lost the Mistral teams down in the south, so they are still getting their first run through, but Darkfires one-shot them. The VADS and the Sky Guards can kill them off as well, so the Hawks, not really an issue. Centurions go down in the center here as well, as we have enough ATGM TOW 2 vehicles, and the Gurkha Rifles actually getting decently far as well. But the smoke here still tries to separate the enemy. VADS doing a good job. ATGM's down south, not quite getting in there, but we have a Harrier HE moving in, but Darkfires can one-shot kill those as well. They just need to hit, but we get the Harrier there too. And yeah, ATGMs here sitting around, 20mm autocannons moving back, but the Gurkha gets behind it, has low 80s. First Centurion down, second Centurion in trouble as well. The SASG is trying to get it hold of the Gurkha rifles, but 10 versus 6, Gurkha rifles might even be able to win this. So fight ensues. Smoke sitting around, Gurkha rifles getting into the smoke. My foothold in the forest still not what I want it to be, but at least we got a tick back online here. Still 18 minutes remaining in the game, and we are getting the better trades lately. Autocannons here also have found the angles on the guards, whilst ATGMs here can stop enemy reinforcements in between. My smoke play is not quite where it needs to be, but it is getting online again. Another Centurion here gets killed by the Gurkhas. This Gurkha team pushing deeper into the scenario as well. But Cheeky finally gets the Humber in here. But the loss of the Centurions down here, that is something that Cheeky couldn't allow to happen. The guards, Carl Gustavs, should have been closer to this. Really, Cheeky should have tried to get a foothold of this with Centurion fire support, but it is not that easy with all the cheap MNAD stuff. Like, in general, MNAD, one of the best divisions currently in the game. Not necessarily for this map, but in general, still a top-tier division. And the Scimitars here giving good fire support. Gurkha Rifles finally getting back in here. The enemy killed my para, and I lose it because I unloaded it a bit too close. Should have unloaded it for this building. Was too greedy and lost the Gurkha Rifle team there. Smoke here also not quite where it needed to be once more. So enemy is able to kill or at least damage my Gurkha Rifle teams here quite heavily. But my ATGM teams now are in the right spots all around. And I have some decent fire support now for the north as well. TOW 2 here getting around. ATGMs flying from both sides as the TOW 2 does fail to get a hit there, but guards Carl Gustavs getting gunned down as well. We have the SASGs here moving around again, but the defensive Gurkha rifles here with 3 vet thanks to the Gurkha leader able to overwhelm the guards Carl Gustav in the open. Smoke play moving around again. Engineers setting up the push, and I had a bit of money saved up, and that is where all of this went into, as yeah, I still wanted this forest, knowing that the enemy real line is behind us, knowing that if I can get ATGMs around here, the enemy will have an insanely tough time getting back in there or any units with low 80s. The Gurkha rifles here getting pushed quite hard, so pick currently not ongoing, and the enemy still had the units around here. I still tried to hunt down the enemy 7.6mm and Milan 2 teams. Failed to do that a bit, but yeah, we had a lot of reinforcements coming in now. We had a decent force in the north as well with paracommandos that could potentially push around the northern flank. Really the biggest mistake and the reason why all of this is currently going the way it does and still being an insane grind is my lack of units in here, but I have now brought a lot of forces to try to help out with that, and the trades currently are decently cost efficient. I have enough supply units to get units repaired again, like the Gurkha rifles over here. Area AG moves around to get 1 kill on a Carl Gustav, on a Gurkha rifles, but does get killed off for it, so that's a efficient trade for us as well. TOW 2 units here, having some line of sights, getting around to assist, 20mm autocannons, all the Scimitars here moving in as well. Lynx Alarm in the south, that was annoying, stopping us there a bit more efficiently than I thought it would, so needed to deal with that somehow. F4F was the idea for it potentially. We invested into Mistrals as well. Wanted to take it slow. Should have just pushed frontally into the forest from over here instead of going through the south. Lynx Alarm would have had a bit tougher time hitting us there, as the Gurkha leader is trying to dodge the artillery whilst not getting fired upon by any of the vehicles. So yeah, smoked off. Now after the salvo runs back to get repaired, and yeah, tries to get into the tree line. Gurkha rifle does survive. I get the zone in the middle back with some pathfinders showing up now as well. But the enemy has some Chieftain Mark 9s here, assisting still. And I didn't push in the north at the same time. I should have pushed in the north. But these two Gurkha Rifles, yeah, as you can see, don't just leave them, your infantry, especially expensive infantry like this, just sitting around. Big mistake. I finally killed the Hell Arm in the south, flying over all enemy on the way back, but only the Star Streak is really able to do anything, as the enemy didn't have any of the Bloodhounds around anymore. And yeah, now the Weasels and Scimitars do push forward. There are a lot of autocannons in this. Milan 1 does get overwhelmed as well. Paras bring Law 80, so the Centurions and Chieftains don't want to stand in front of this. And yeah, the Paras finally able to get into the forest. Now all the other units can move on as well. Rover CP missed micro there a bit as well. And this, for a tree line, like, this is one of the reasons why I believe this side on the blue side is not that much worse. You just really need to play it from this kind of angle to intercept the enemies and to play from the sides. Don't try to grind through the middle directly. As I said, Gurkha Rifles are already too much of that. And imagine having 2 more Gurkha Rifles here right now. I would be easily able to push through the whole forest. That are a bit stuck here. Can't really push with them either. Enemy currently on a +1, but we are now pushing deep as the Scimitars overwhelming the Chieftain. Centurion goes down as well. Gurkha Rifle leader now over here does get RT'd down. Sultan in the south does get killed by a Centurion too. But all my autocannons now pushing forward, overwhelming a Centurion. Enemy does not have much AT left here in the south. We get some 25 pounders. Aras can move along here as well. So2 in a good spot as well to push forward. And that really puts some nice pressure onto the enemy. That Centurion over there, that is quite annoying. And my autocannons here not doing what I hoped them to do. So smoke is popped. Units disengaging. Could have pushed a bit more directly towards the south here. That's my autocannons on the move don't really hit anything. So losing 4 Weasels there, not amazing. Not having good smoke play here in the middle, not amazing either. Really, as I said, still a good couple of mistakes made, but this division is good. Canberra there, failing to get the hit as well. That is a saving grace. But we try to get the Gurkha Rifle leader just in there now, realizing the enemy might be a bit short on stuff. Gurkha Rifle leader getting in. Should have immediately popped the smoke. Will pop a smoke and move into it right now. To2 here, helping us out against the Centurion. Autocannons all going to town there. We have a +2. Cluster Bomber moving around. Does get a lot of kills, but does get killed for it as well. And point-wise, that is only okay for them. Whilst we still have To2 leaders over here to try to deal with the enemy. Infantry in the north finally pushing on as well. Whilst we have a +1, we have the rear zone, and we also got commandos there in the middle pushing through, and that led us here to 6,420 to 4,500 kills and a surrender here at the 29-minute mark. We had a solid point lead, we still had a take, and CheekiBreeki did surrender at that point. Really, a game showing you that you need to really consider what you buy in the first couple of minutes. A bit of a misdeployment when it comes to recon forces on Cheeky's side. That F4F buying investment there being just a panic buy of a fighter that was completely unnecessary on my end, leading to much more trouble in my pushes than necessary. If I would have gotten a supply line into that forest open, the Gurkha Rifles likely would have won that game a lot earlier, or at least secured me a tick a lot earlier into the center. Instead, it was a long grind. It was good usage of smoke, really showing you, like, the cluster mortars did really shoot little cluster in that game, but they kept on smoking non-stop, showing you how with infantry you still can push and light vehicles. You just have to set the battlefield up for them to actually have successes, especially if they have good AT launchers, like anything like a Law 80 or even a Carl Gustav. If you can set up decent engagement ranges where those can be used, the enemy might be in trouble. So, yep. Hope you all enjoyed this. Let's have a look on the replay analyzer, and then, yeah, we will end it with that. And when we look at the remaining deck, you can see that the infantry here was nearly fully depleted. on the side of Cheeky. That's one of the reasons why they surrendered. They also ran nearly out of Centurions there. The A was still around, but the air tab nearly fully depleted as well. And they also started to take a heavily mounting amount of kills there with at the 20-minute mark. So they really fall behind fell behind there. They took a good amount of casualties early on already, so that led to me getting away with solid position. And then around here was the next time where I had a better engagement after them closing the gap there a bit. And then in the end, yeah, here I just got the better out of the trades time and again. And that's the power of MNAD. If you get into the clashes, they usually in fights where both sides take some losses, can grind the enemy down quite efficiently with their forces. Like usually you have to work on just taking and doing away units of theirs without taking any losses of your own, which only happened really once here around this mark where I didn't kill much but lost quite a lot of things. So yeah, survivability here that doesn't really matter with my division, and I was constantly on the initiative here uh, with better mobile forces, more recon, and all of that. So yep, still quite a fun game in my eyes. Semi won by the pick and ban, with MNET just being a really strong division and HDR being a division that is not quite on the same register currently in my eyes. I should have played the early game better, but yeah, Cheeky did not punish me there. Did not find a way to keep the tick on in the middle from the get go, and the Centurions never got around in enough forces to just shoot down my forces, uh, together with some chieftain leader tanks and so on. So yeah, GGVP there to Cheeky. Hope to see you all in the next one.